And another market that I'm looking at is Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. It's a lot of people from Cleveland, Cincinnati. People are coming to Columbus, Ohio. More younger generations are coming to Ohio. As you know, the younger generation, they tend to stay in the apartment as opposed to buying a house these days.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Passive Road to Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Jarrett. Today, we are joined by Yosef Lee. He is a father, lawyer, multifamily apartment syndicator, people connector, status quo hater, strategic planner, and Pilates studio owner. He has a vision to achieve freedom and control of his time, place, and occurrence. Yosef started his journey of investing in cash flowing multifamily apartments as a tool to create passive income streams and achieve generational wealth. He would love to make changes in others' lives and empower them to become better versions of themselves and to live their life on their own terms. Yosef, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me. Very excited.
Excellent. Well, for those who aren't familiar, maybe you can kind of you've got a lot going on there, so maybe you can give a little bit more of a detailed background and
Sure. A South Korean immigrant. I grew up in South Korea. I came here a month shy of 18 years old. So to me, it was a culture shock and new people, new friends. I had to, just make new network, right? Mm-hmm. And then was from that point on, it's about like proving myself in a foreign country. And long story short, I got married and I went to law school. I became an attorney. And, I thought I'll be like a super cool, like an attorney, But at one point, I started realizing that, by nature of my job, I'm trading the time for money. And the more money you want to make, the more time you're going to spend. And that was going against the notion of the lifestyle that I wanted to pursue, especially when my kids are growing up and they want more of my attentions. They want to play. So I thought about it. And coupled with some life events, I came to the conclusion that, I got to create some sort of sustainable multiple income stream. No matter to my job or myself, I should be able to protect my kids. And no matter what they want to do, I want them to be able to freely do it with some support. So, and, around the time I started doing some self-education, I stumbled upon Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad and Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
And I had that book for years, like over 10 years. It's just,
really?
I just gave it. To me, it was like some kind of scheme.
Right.
Yeah. Gave it to me. I was like, why don't you do it? Right.
Right. Yeah.
So I put it on the shelf and, but I don't know why I opened it up and I started reading cover to cover. And that was like the aha moment for me. It was like, it hit me so hard in my brain. So I decided to become an entrepreneur, businessman, or investor. As you can see, the cash flow quadrupling, right?
Yep.
And then, I tried a little bit of REITs or a little bit of mutual funds and stocks, but it didn't really thrill me until I came upon the real estate and more so multifamily, especially two concepts of forced depreciation and cash out refi and cost mitigation benefit. Was making so much sense. And I'm like, why nobody's doing this? Right?
Exactly.
And I started education. And throughout 2019, started listening to the podcast, Michael Blank's and Grant Cardone, and going to Bigger Pockets and just reading the articles, asking some questions. But then soon I realized I was really not taking any actions. I was just passively observing the information. So what I did was I decided to take the next step by joining a mentorship group or mastermind, which I did back in late February of 2020. Still remember, because right after that, I was so ready to go out and meet real estate people. Because until then, all my network was like attorneys, community, leaders meetings, etc. But never people. So this time I was so ready. Then pandemic came and shut down.
Yeah,
I'm like, what's going on? I'm so ready to go out, but I can't go out. So I ended up with a friend of mine starting co-hosting a virtual meetup since May, which is still running until now. We never skipped. Good. I had a goal of closing my first deal in 2020 as I was joining the mentorship group. which happened in December 2020.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
yeah, kind of my goal was kind of met. And then, so I'm part of two different mentorship groups, one Jake and Gino, one MIH Mastermind.
Mhm.
And I both because I saw two different values. And now, yeah, and with them, I met all my partners through the groups, and we're closing the deals. And thereafter, I was involved in a couple more syndications. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's my real estate background.
That's awesome. So yeah, you tried stocks first and just kind of, was it the lack of control for you more? Just kind of seeing you could wake up one day and not know where the stock's going to be, or what do you think it was in real estate versus that?
I think it was just like the idea of letting someone else or some program invest my money in something, and then I was just passively watching and just just
With
have
all
to.
the fees and everything, right?
The only action I could take is like I'll sell it. And I'll
Right.
sell it.
Yeah.
Ed, because I don't have that much background to sell, but the control was in my hand to
Mhm.
that. So I don't know whether I was selling it in a good timing or bad timing, and
Right.
still sell it. So I'm like, okay. I just kind of tasted it, and let's
Yeah.
try. And yeah, that was what.
Similar. Yeah. Stocks have always been a little scary to me because I feel like at least with property, you have, hazard insurance, fire insurance, stocks, they could be cooking the books and who knows, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe much more, like, because I didn't know much about how to invest in stock. Maybe that was what scared me. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't know, and that lack of knowledge kind of made me like, okay, maybe either I study more and come back, or now is probably not the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. So your first couple of deals, maybe you could just kind of go into, how you maybe acquired them and what the structure was like and just kind of how it played out.
Sure. Maybe so far I went into 7 deals, and
Oh,
among the first 2 are very memorable because it's I will say I could say it's my own,
mhm.
like not me alone, but with my direct partners.
Right. Mhm.
So the first one was 44 unit apartment in Kansas,
Okay.
and we did in a joint venture. It was a C-class type workforce housing, deferred maintenance, definitely motivate seller. So it was like the type of deal that it's very good for value add, right?
Mm.
So the deal came to us from one of my boots on the ground partner's friend. So he knew the seller. I think seller wanted to sell it because he wanted to go bigger. So
Okay.
there was no competition or anything. The seller's condition was that only if you can close this year, I'll sell it to you. So I said, you know what? Why not? Let's do it. So
Mhm.
we started the due diligence and all that, and we found the roof were really old, and HVAC system
Mm.
was. So we wanted to ask the seller to fix it before the closing date, but then he ended up asking us if we wanted credit for that. So
Oh, wow.
okay, either way, we're fine.
Yeah.
My friend was in the ground partner. He actually asked more than he thought as needed. Ended up just granting it. So we got $100,000,
Wow, that's awesome.
which is good. And well, recently we fixed all the roofs
Okay.
and updated the HVAC systems, and it came out to be about, I think, a little over 70 grand.
Oh,
Like,
wow. So you pocketed some money on that too then.
right? It was good. But first deal was a joint venture structure, 6 partners, 3 main partners, and 1 KP and 2 other, more so like a money investor, right? But
Mhm.
we ended up giving them some roles because it's a JV and we cannot really make them like complete passive.
Sure.
So, and they're doing some, but a majority of the work, including myself, the main team are doing, including asset management. The deal was closed in December 2020, and around the average rent was around $600 back then.
Okay.
Market rent is at least like $150 more. So
Nice.
we're slowly pushing. Like, first of all, we had more than 50% of month-to-month tenants. So
Mm.
we slowly turned them into long-term lease, giving them some incentives like or penalties. So negative reinforcement was like, if you stay month to month, we're gonna give you like $100. You gotta pay $100 more.
Right.
Or if you do a long-term lease, we'll probably fix something or give you some sort of like a new lease package type
Mhm.
like light renovation, right?
Sure, sure.
So long story short, we kind of push them. So now the average rent is I think around 650
Okay.
or 25 650. So with that bump, we kind of project to cash out refi in a couple of months.
Mhm.
And I think I did calculation of, I think I did $100 rent bump. With
Okay.
that, 44 times 44 and applies, I think around 7 cap ish. It was about 900 something forced appreciation.
That is awesome.
So,
Congratulations.
and which is happening. We were talking to the lenders, and some lenders even applying 6.5.
Oh,
So it's being pushed above the million. We are going to pull out all our money, and then just usual, we'll keep it and we'll roll that into another deal. So that's our plan.
is that going to be just like a legacy property? Just hold it for cash flow, basically,
Yeah, we want that.
every couple of years.
And that's why the partner is really important. If you want to keep that long term, when some partner wants to sell it as soon as possible,
Mhm.
that's not right. It's
Right.
your philosophy is not lined up together. But thankfully, all my partners are into generational wealth, and we want to pass it down to our kids
Oh,
as
okay.
much. So we'll see. That's our plan.
Nice. Now, are you asset managing that one yourself, or are you hiring that out, or how does that work?
As far as asset management wise, we have property managers. So myself and another partner of myself, two of us are mainly doing the weekly calls with the property managers
Okay.
and for delinquent tenants, why they're not paying, if there's any government support that we can hook up to, CapEx and what's going on. So yeah, mainly involved in the asset management.
Okay. Cool. And then you closed another one pretty soon after that, didn't you?
Yes, and 3 months after, March 2021, we did 68 unit as a syndication in Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Funny is we got that under contract before the first property.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it took 9 months, almost 9 months for us to close. And
Wow.
there's a behind story. The reason was when we got that under contract, the occupancy rate was above 95%, around 95%. And
Okay.
for some reason, throughout the due diligence, the occupancy started going down. And there was a late agency loan assumption deal.
Mm.
And, they started freaking out, like,
Yeah.
right? And, and they were like, if this is the trend that we see now, we're uncomfortable closing the deal.
Right.
So we had to actually extend the contract further, even beyond the contract terms. The seller was okay because the main reason was occupancy was going down, not that we're trying to back out or anything. And
The seller just like, I've got it sold. I'm just going to stop, just stop
yeah.
basically.
So they all agreed. So we extended maybe twice more, just so that we can bring that occupancy back to where it was at the time of contract,
Mhm.
which we were able to do. And then the seller became comfortable. So it took about 8 or 9 months. And in between, the first deal was closed in December, and then later March we closed the 68 unit. This is more like a B class type, B, more stabilized in a nicer neighborhood, quiet. So we call this property boring property because
Exactly.
no drama, you
Yeah.
know.
Yep. Management's pretty easy on it.
Yeah, I guess tenant basis is higher.
Yeah.
But we have also property manager there. We get on a weekly or biweekly calls with them.
Mhm.
But like I said, less drama, more straightforward. Some capex here and there, fixing or upgrading, but that's it. So for that one, we're good cash flowing. This one was a syndication, so we have about 30 investors invested together. And I was lucky enough to have experienced both JV structure and syndication structure
Mhm.
pretty much within a year as I joined the game more seriously.
Okay.
So it was
now, is that going to be like a typical 5-year hold maybe and then sell it? Or are you looking to, refinance that, or what's your strategy with that one?
We want to do definitely all the deals. We definitely want to do refinance, and if we can keep it, we want to keep it. So I specifically recall we put a language in the contract BPM and operating agreement that if somebody at the end of holding period want to get out a deal, we might be able to buy them out,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
With fair market value, and then maybe deploy that equity to further to other members who want to stay longer with us.
Sure.
For example, wanting to cash out refi, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Now, what kind of renovations are you doing on that one? Is it minor renovations, just pushing rents, or what's your plan?
Yeah, minor, like nothing fancy, just new paint, maybe countertop, and then flooring, and then just push the rent.
Okay, nice, awesome. Now, what markets are you looking in now? Has your strategy changed at all? With 2022 after COVID, or what are you looking at?
Not. I don't think it's changed. It's just the criteria when I select market criteria is the same: population growth, job growth, and if a major employee that are coming in or not, and whatnot. So it's stayed the same. Kansas City population is growing. A lot of people are now. It's been found, I think, like throughout the pandemic too. A lot of people are coming to Kansas City. And another market that I'm looking at is Columbus, Ohio. It's a lot of people from Cleveland, Cincinnati. People are coming to Columbus, Ohio. More younger generations are coming to Ohio. As you know, the younger generation, they tend to stay in the apartment as opposed to buying a house these days.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So with that, job growth is absolutely, and yeah, so these two markets are the main markets that I'm looking at now.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard Columbus is a really good cash flow market, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I kind of like Cincinnati too. Yeah. I have another partner that I'm talking to, so yeah, Columbus is good.
Awesome. So your goals 2022, any unit numbers you're looking, to acquire this year, or what's your goal this year?
So I want to do my vision board. I worked on it at the end of December. I want to do 3 more syndications in 2022 and 2 more JV, because I like JV as well.
Mm-hmm.
Easier to keep it, right? For
right.
generation.
Exactly.
And one of the 2 JVs I want to try this time. Before it was all stabilized, but this time I want to try at least 1 JV, which is like a heavy value add, like heavy lifting.
Okay.
That could be a gut job for about a year. I don't have to expect to get anything out of it, but bridge loan and heavy value add, reposition, and big cash out refi, and just keep it, right?
Like 50% vacant, maybe something like that, or just a lot of rehab.
Anything like that. I mean, I never experienced, so I'm just thinking about it is kind of exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'd be great to find something like that.
Somebody who's done it, because I have no idea how.
So that would be, you'd have to bring on a pretty seasoned asset manager and property manager in that case, right? Does that be what you'd be looking to do?
Right. Within my mastermind, we have people who have, it's like somebody who's done that, like complete gut job, and now repositioned and cash flow like great, and somebody who's who has money and liquid and just waiting for that type of deal so that he could just park his money. So I mean, resources are there. It's just like as soon as we find that right deal, then I think we can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, I believe I heard you talk about before, and I thought you answered it really well. The difference between asset management and the acquisition. They're both difficult, but what's your thoughts on the actual management of the asset? Do you think that's more important than how you buy? Or, what are your thoughts on that?
Both are equally important because, well, you got to have the deal first to do asset manage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably more than half of the active real estate investor, multifamily investors are shedding the light on acquisition side. And when they find the deal and close, it's like, wow, this is great. You get all the spotlight and all that. But one asset managers tend to just be stay quiet and behind the scenes about it. you're stuck with that property for the next 5-7 years. Acquisition is only like what, a couple of months.
Yeah.
So yes, it's true. You need to find a deal and you need to buy the right deal. However, now for the next 5-7 years, what are you gonna do with that? You're gonna execute the business plans to give the maximized return for your investors, and on your performance, the investors will come back. Or not, right?
Right. Exactly.
So back to your question, I think both are equally important. Both involve different skill set. So that's why it's a team sport, and you can't just do it alone. Like as you go, and that's what I experienced as I went this journey further and being partnered with different people. When the specific team members who are good at certain things are placed in the right place, the synergy is greater.
Yeah. Yeah, you can have a great deal, but if you can't manage it properly, a good deal can go bad pretty quick.
Yes. And the person in our team, the person who works for the acquisition side, trust the asset management partner so that as he toss that property to the asset manager phase, then he could go back right away to find another one because he trusts the asset management partner, right?
Okay.
You don't. Yeah. I mean, eventually you're going to be involved overall during the discussion or meetings. However, if you can only focus on certain things and you have that much trust with for your partners and know that the other partner is going to do a super job in asset management, then your work performance can be better.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Knowing you have that trust, so you know it's going to be handled and taken care of, so you can just focus on broker relations and things like that. Yeah.
Right.
That makes total sense. Now, what's your acquisition criteria this year? Are you looking more C class, B class? Smaller units. I know you said you're doing syndication and JV. Are you looking different criteria for each, or how are you looking at that?
JV, I'm looking at somewhere from 20 to 40 units.
Okay.
Syndication more above 50, 100, 150-ish in that. And obviously both B and C. For JV and syndication, both B and C. Hopefully below market rent, some debt for maintenance, and motivate seller. Yeah. The usual.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But usual because I think it's because sweet spot. Like everyone likes it, and that's a great deal. I think it's getting harder and harder to find those. And
definitely.
Now the goal of this year is to get that skill set and knowledge about going direct to seller. Like the system, to build up the system of skip trace. I know some people do skip tracing and cold calling or mailing and things like that. This and that, like different things. But I want to have that system, and ready in 2022.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've actually been thinking about that too, going direct to seller, getting like a CoStar access where you can, look up the true owner and call, because it's so hard now. It's so competitive. I think you have to do that these days. I think that's a great strategy.
Yeah, that or being in the listing agents or brokers pocket listing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But everyone's trying to do that. So. But well, if you could look back at your 18-year-old self, when you came over to America, is there anything different you would tell him to do, or what would you tell that young guy, looking back now? Anything you would change?
I think I'll tell him to look into investing side earlier, more so real estate study. Because to me, I don't know, it was some sort of like a limiting belief of myself. Like real estate, like how would you do real estate without like a lot of money? That was like limiting belief that I had until I finally realized there is a way to get into the game and then just play that. But before, I didn't really know. I think it was because of lack of knowledge, right? Lack of knowledge about the system, lack of knowledge about the finance and how tax works, what benefits, what not. And again, I learned it through the life experiences. So I can't say I would have been uh, better situated if had I started earlier. Because I'm definitely sure that a lot of my other life experiences from being an attorney or working in a job kind of helped me to form who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So really be sure that I've been a lot more successful if had I started earlier. But at least I could, and I want to tell him to, start studying and educate yourself earlier, definitely earlier, because there is
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Life experience. You can't, read that from a book. You got to be out taking action, right?
Right.
Totally
Definitely.
agree with you. Now, one of our things, it's a passive road to retirement. So I always ask if, for the audience, I guess, what would be maybe your top way for somebody just getting into real estate to maybe add value or try and create that first passive income stream? What would be your suggestion on that?
My suggestion first, you got to know your situation. You got to know who you are. Meaning, first question yourself: do you have enough money to make it into JV partner or first syndication as a passive investor or not?
Mm-hmm.
Usually, okay, so you don't have that chunk of money at this point yet. So let's set that aside. But now think about it. Within the team, usually you got to add value in a way that being a boots on the ground or capital raiser, finding the deal, adding monetary value as a KP, etc., and kind of lay them down on the paper, and you got to check one by one. Like, am I able to do this or not? Am I in the market? Okay, that's great, because then now you have you can be boots on the ground for a potential partner. That's how you're going to market yourself.
Right.
Okay, great market. I can be boots on the ground and trying to approach it to investor who's experienced in out-of-state market who wants to come into this market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then
Right.
add value to them. Or if you are also in the market, yeah, you can still do another thing. Like you can try to reach out to the brokers and try to find a deal, sell it direct, do whatever. If you can find a deal, you can bring it to an experienced syndicator or sponsor, and then you can kind of hand it to him and
Mm-hmm.
ask him some, little portion of GP share, right?
Sure. Right.
Or if you know people who have some money that you can educate them, you can let them come in and invest with you. And maybe you can ask a sponsor or other multifamily investors if when they have a deal, if you can get an opportunity to raise money for them. And in return, you can ask for some GP share.
Right.
And a little bit of acquisition fee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's other way to get in the deal. So again, back to your question, you got to sit down and kind of write down. This is the exercise I did. I sat down and I wrote down all these different roles in a syndication team and applied myself, like my personality. Do I like this or do I like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I don't like this. Can I push myself and do this for a sustainable time so that I can add value? Or even if I like this, is this something that I want to do it for the rest of my career as an investor or what? So you kind of juggle this and ideas and kind of brainstorm and
Mm-hmm.
set your clear criteria as to what value you can add. And then now, as you educate yourself and as you develop further the skill sets, now you got to network heavily. Network, one of the most important aspect of real estate investing is the network. You got to find a partner through the network, and you got to be able to show them and tell them why you need to, or the other partner, why they need to partner with you, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Somebody, I don't know who said it, but they say, your network is your net worth. And it is absolutely true.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I lived with it. I went that journey, right? I took, still I'm taking that ongoing journey. But if I look back for the last 2 years, it was all about somebody who needed my skill set, brought me into that team or in the partnership, or introduced me to someone else, and then we made it happen together. So absolutely.
And like you said, you took the time to actually think about how I could add value to people, which That is great advice. You know, a lot of people don't say that. To actually sit down and think about that is really good advice.
And big no is when you network. Big no, I think, is like asking the other side, like, what can I do for you? I'll do anything.
Right.
Type of question, like, so you don't know what you're doing. First, second, you don't know. As to how to like ask a certain questions in a way that the other side will feel comfortable answering.
Right.
Like, am I supposed to tell you what to do for me, right?
Yeah, like just go get coffee every day, I guess. I don't know, you know?
But that's what I get a lot of times. Maybe at least 30-40% of the time when I do network, one who's just starting the game, is there anything that I could do for you? Yeah, let's stay in touch and talking.
Yeah, exactly. Show me what you can do, you know?
Right. Like, so. I don't know what you can do.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, how can people reach out to you and get in contact with you?
Okay. I'm very active try to be active on social media. All my social media handle is Yosef, your brosef. So Yosef, OSEF, your YOUR, brosef, BROSEF, LinkedIn, blog, Insta, all TikTok, and so that's all same handle. And I have website, yosefyourbrosef.com. So yeah, it's and leave me a message. I'm very approachable. You're gonna be surprised. If I get a message, I reply.
Awesome. I love that name, by the way. That is a great name.
Catchy. Somebody, two of my mentors started using it, and then everybody calls me that way now.
Yeah, it's very memorable. Cool. So now we'll get into our 5 to Thrive section. So this is the last section here. So basically, I'm just going to go rapid fire, 5 words or phrases right in a row, and it's just word association. So whatever word or phrase comes into your mind, the only caveat is you cannot repeat your answer.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. So the first one is financial freedom.
Okay, it's a fortress.
Fortress. Nice.
Nothing once you achieve it, it's not gonna be demolished down.
Yep. I like it. Limiting beliefs.
Something that you must break.
100%. Generational wealth.
It's very slow to create the system, but once you systematize it, generation wealth is possible.
Asset management.
Oh, sorry. What was that?
Asset management.
Something that's a lot harder than I thought.
And last one, multifamily.
Something that I'm very passionate about. I wake up thinking about it, go to sleep thinking about it.
Awesome. Well, man, it's been great having you on. Absolute pleasure, and thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. I had fun, and it was a great time spending with you. Thank you.
Great.